every bond number right, every donor right. Because this otherwise is going to create havoc for today for donors who come and say, this is not my bond, I did not purchase this, you put the wrong number on my bond, I did not give to
that. There's no question of that. Once he's given the KYC, he's given the details, you also have the application. The application will be having the amount.
No, I'm sorry, Manoj. I'm sorry. My concern is he purchased bond number X. I by mistake, I put his number as purchasing bond number Y. Now, X may have gone to political party A, Y may have gone to political party B.
Why will that happen, Mr. Sir?
Because I'll tell Manoj why. Because they haven't kept the
number one bank in the country. We expect them to be able to handle this.
No, not expect to be handled. We were told make sure that this doesn't leak. So Manoj, the way we stored the information, the bond number did not get into the core banking system. If we had been told keep information on this basis, we would have devised our systems accordingly. If we had kept it like that, Manoj, any senior bank officer could have found out bond numbers and the whole thing would have been out in public domain. Who has how much, all these secrets.
Assistant General Manager files an affidavit in support of the application to the Supreme Court for modification and order of a constitution bench. It's a very serious matter when you ask for modification of an order.
I accept that one. I accept that.
I accept that. General Manager files an affidavit and tells us that, look, I'm finding it difficult. The information is maintained in 2 silos.
No, he has filed the affidavit because he's the man in the spot. He's the person who has to do this job. He's the level at which these accounts are kept. We said you must have the person who knows what he's talking about. So, Manoj, give us a little time, we'll do it, Manoj. Ask for time. Manoj, may I say one thing, Manoj? If your Lordship turns to your Lordship's operative order, there's one way which we may be able to resolve this. In B, your Lordship say, electoral bonds purchased, the detail will include the detail of purchase of electoral bond, the name of purchaser and the denomination. This is one part, Manoj. This we have. We can get this in 2-3 weeks. C, but I was saying something.
Yes, Mr. Alden.
But if your Lordship turns, there may be a way out around this. But if your Lordship turns to your Lordship's order, para 221, page 76.
Yes.
There are 2 parts, B and C. If you don't have to create a bridge between the two, then within 3 weeks we can give everything.
So we'll dictate an order. We'll dictate let us do it in the court itself instead of.
I wanted to just make one respectful suggestion.
Yes.
If your Lordship sees para 221.
Yes.
Malad, if B and C are not to be matched, then Malad, we can give the information in 3 weeks. Let me explain how. If we, on one hand, is the person who purchased the electoral bond and the number of bonds he purchased, that Malad, in 2-3 weeks, we can get all the figures. In the second, the bonds encashed by political parties, which includes the date of encashment and denomination. That details we have, that we can give. In 3 weeks, we'll put it all together.
If you require 3 weeks for what, Mr. Sarvi?
These are all in because the accounts are separate, the payment has come separately and the name was kept separately. We'll marry the two and give it.
The political parties have already given the details of the encashments made by them.
Correct, so that in any case is there. Yes. As far as B is concerned, we can give it.
Details also are already available with you.
I'm sorry, Manoj.
You're working on with regard to the purchasers, the donors, and the details of amount they have purchased. These details are already available.
Yes, so that we can give, Manoj. We'll just put that figures together and give. The trouble is, Manoj, we understood B and C meant that we had to give a complete correlation of who bought how much was received, how much was given to whom, and with which bank, or rather which party encashed it from which bank. That bridge was creating that difficulty. If you don't have to give that matching.
Right, what we'll do is we'll dictate an order.
Yes.
Before your Lordship dictates.
After we dictate it, if there's something which remains, you can tell us. By a judgment dated
15th February.
By a judgment dated 15th February 2024, this court declared the electoral bond scheme and the provisions of the Finance Act 2017, which amended the provisions of the Representation of the People Act 1951 and the Income Tax Act 1961 unconstitutional on the ground that the non-disclosure of information regarding the funding of political parties is violative of the right to information of citizens under Article 19, bracket 1, bracket A of the Constitution. Full stop. The amendments which were introduced by the Finance Act 2017 to the provisions of the Companies Act 2013, permitting unlimited funding of political parties by corporate entities were held to be arbitrary and violative of Article 14 of the Constitution. Clause 7(4) of the electoral bond scheme stipulates that the information furnished by the buyer of an electoral bond shall be treated as confidential by the authorized bank and shall be disclosed only when called upon to do so by a competent court or upon the registration of an offence by a law enforcement agency. Thus, in terms of the provisions of the electoral bond scheme itself, SBI is mandated to disclose information when demanded by a court. What remains to be seen, what has to be analyzed is whether SBI is justified in seeking an extension of time. Next. SBI seeks an extension of time on the ground that the process of open inverted commas decoding the electoral bonds and matching the donor to the donations into inverted commas complete is a complex and time-consuming exercise. Full stop. To substantiate this argument, SBI has a word that next line, A, information is not available in a digital format. Yeah, underline kar dijiye. Clause 7.1.2 of the Standard Operating Procedure regarding the sale and redemption of electoral bonds stipulates that, into inverted commas, no details of bond purchaser, including KYC and other details, will be entered in the core banking system, into inverted commas complete. Thus, the details of the purchases of bonds are not available centrally, semicolon. B, the donor details and recipient details are available in two separate silos. Ye underline kar lijiye, colon. The details of the purchasers of the electoral bonds were kept in a sealed cover at the designated branch. These sealed covers were deposited in the main branch of SBI in Mumbai at the end of each phase of the issuance of the electoral bonds. Full stop. The information on the redemption of electoral bonds, into brackets, that is the original bond and the pay-in slip, bracket, were stored in a sealed cover and sent to the SBI, Mumbai branch. Semicolon. C, matching of information in the two silos is a time-consuming process. Underline kar lijiye, colon. The matching of the information on the purchase And redemption of electoral bonds would be time consuming, since donor information and redemption information is maintained in two distinct silos, independent of each other, semicolon. D, there is a large there is a large number of data sets to decipher, underline, colon. A total of 22,000 odd, I'll give you the figure.
22,217.
A total of 22,217 bonds were purchased between 12 April 2019 and 15 February 2024. Full stop. This would cumulatively add up to 44,434 data sets, since there are two silos of information. In other words, the compilation of this information would be a time-consuming process. Full stop. Next main para.